Goku Black, the problem with Retcons. Goku Black, the Retcon disaster that ruined the Goku Black arc. Dragon Ball Super is an expansive addition to the Dragon Ball universe, introducing a plethora of new characters, forms, and arcs that have expanded the scope of the franchise, from high-octane excitement of determinate power to questionable narrative choices in arcs like the Goku Black arc. The show has been a roller coaster for both new and veteran fans alike. While the series has certainly provided its share of thrilling moments, the Goku Black arc is one of the more divisive ones. It's packed with incredible fights, dramatic transformations, and an interesting villain. But behind all that hype lies a tangled mess of retcons that fundamentally breaks the continuity and structure of the Dragon Ball universe. The arc's charm lies in its premise, a dark version of Goku, a character fans had only imagined in fanfiction. But the execution and the decisions made during its development raise significant questions about the integrity of the series' storytelling. Before diving deeper, I want to thank you all for the continued support, and I also apologize for missing a few uploads recently. I've been a bit under the weather, but I'm back, I guess. You can still hear it right now, I'm very ill, but I'm trying to provide content for y'all, so I hope y'all enjoy. I will be trying to upload every 2 days, and I also go over anime, manga, and general fictional content. Like I said earlier, thank you for your support. That Shadow video went crazy. I've gained a couple subs, and I really can't do this without y'all. It's been a lot of fun. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. The allure of Goku Black. The idea of an evil Goku was a concept Dragon Ball fans had fantasized about for years. The prospect of an antagonist possessing Goku's power and abilities was tantalizing, and the early teasers of the Goku Black arc had fans buzzing with anticipation. This wasn't just some random villain, it was Goku, but twisted. Fans theorized who could be the evil Goku persona, with many speculating it might be a corrupted version of Goten, or some alternative version of Goku himself. When the truth was finally revealed, Goku Black was actually Zamasu, a Supreme Kai apprentice. Some were left excited by the twist, while others immediately became skeptical. For many, the excitement of Goku Black being introduced overshadowed any logical issues the arc would later encounter. The initial concept of the Goku Black arc is certainly promising at the very beginning. The idea of an alternate timeline where an evil version of Goku wreaks havoc immediately adds a level of intrigue and mystery. Trunks' return to the present timeline heightens the tension, especially since every time Trunks shows up, something catastrophic is on the horizon. This leads to the suspense that drives fans to eagerly await each episode. But as the arc unfolds, the flaws in the execution become increasingly apparent. The Goku Black retcon and the timeline mess. One of the most significant issues with Goku Black is the disruption of the Dragon Ball timeline. Time travel has been a prominent theme in Dragon Ball since the Z saga, specifically the Android saga. But the introduction of Goku Black causes the timelines to be a convoluted mess that detracts from the series' coherence in previous Dragon Ball arcs. Time travel was relatively simple to understand, with different timelines existing as alternate realities. This was established during the Cell saga. When Trunks journeyed back to the past, it split in the timeline. The introduction of multiple timelines was tricky but manageable, especially with the aspects of the lore. And it was logical. The actions in one timeline could create a ripple effect, creating another. In Z, there were 4 timelines. The main timeline, or the future timeline, in which Trunks lived in the future where all the androids killed everyone. The normal Z timeline, where Gohan became SJ2 and defeated Cell, and where everything throughout Dragon Ball occurs. The third timeline is when Trunks goes back into the future and defeats the Cell and the androids that had occurred throughout the arc. And the fourth is one where Cell kills Trunks and goes back in time to observe the androids. While messy, it is understandable. However, when Goku Black enters the picture, the delicate balance is destroyed. At first, it's unclear which timeline the Trunks in this arc actually belongs to. He appears to come from a future where the androids had already destroyed the world, but the inclusion of Goku Black raises immediate questions. Is this the same future timeline, Trunks? The one that originally came back from Z? If so, why was Goku alive in this timeline? But if not, why was he able to remember the damages caused by the androids? Not only this, why are there two versions of Zamasu in this existence? Keep in mind, it's probably the same age Zamasu. These inconsistencies create a situation where a timeline no longer makes sense, and the very foundation of Dragon Ball's time travel logic is undermined. Worse yet, the arc suggests that there are two versions of Zamasu, one that exists as the original Supreme Kai apprentice, and another that has taken Goku's body. This dual existence creates an even bigger problem, as it implies that the very concept of time travel is fluid and inconsistent, reducing the stakes of time travel and making a story feel less grounded. Retcons like this are not just confusing, they undermine the well-established rules of the Dragon Ball macrocosm, which had always been built on relatively clear understanding of time and its effect, at least in the Cell Saga, because time travel is not throughout the Majin Buu or Frieza Saga. I'm specifying the Cell Saga because that is the one that goes over time travel. Zamasu's flawed motivation and lack of consistency. Zamasu, the mastermind behind Goku Black, is a complex character, but his motivations are often muddled. His hatred for mortals is understandable to some extent. After all, as a Supreme Kai, Zamasu is a being who views mortals as flawed and unworthy of existence. But what makes him such a weak villain is how poorly his motivations are executed. Is Zamasu truly sought to create a world free of mortals? Then his choice to take Goku's body makes little sense. Goku, while powerful, is far from the ideal mortal, especially considering Zamasu's earlier disdain for the Saiyan race. A truly cunning villain would have sought to find the strongest mortal to carry out his plan. Yet Zamasu, after losing to Goku in a fight, resorts to stealing his body, a decision that feels both petty and illogical. This is not the mark of a master planner. The fact that Zamasu's plan hinges on the poor decision only highlights his own incompetence. This decision diminishes the strength of his character, reducing him to a formidable antagonist to a petty, impulsive villain whose motivations are inconsistent with the story's larger themes. In the manga, Zamasu's portrayal becomes even more problematic. He is often depicted as a whiny and emotional character, especially in the contrast to his cool and calculated villain seen in the anime. His constant crying and tantrums further erode any sense of gravities he could have had as an antagonist. The inconsistencies between his portrayal in the anime and the manga only exacerbates the issue, leading to a villain who feels less threatening and more like a caricature of a classic Dragon Ball villain. The disappointment of Vegito Blue and power scaling issues. The return of Vegito, the fusion of Goku and Vegeta, was one of the most highly anticipated moments in the Goku Black arc. Fans had been eagerly awaiting his return ever since the C Saga, or Buu Saga specifically, and the idea of seeing him in Super Saiyan Blue form was electrifying. However, the execution of Vegito Blue's involvement in this arc left much to be desired. First, the retcon of Vegito's fusion time limit felt like a lazy way to bring him back into the fight. In earlier Dragon Ball arcs, specifically the Buu Saga, there was no time limit. It was well established that Vegito could go on forever. The only reason he was able to split apart was because of Majin Buu's magic. But here they changed it to when mortals fuse, then they can split up after an hour. While this is not crazy at first, it just adds to the level of idiocy that continues throughout this arc. This makes it feel less thought out, especially because we have another fusion that does have a time limit that Goku and Vegeta could have done in its place, but instead they wanted to bring back Vegito without the repercussions. But that doesn't make it bad, so I won't be going on to that moment any further. What makes it even worse with the time limit issues, the way Vegito Blue is ultimately defeated. His failure in the battle against Zamasu is an utter disappointment, especially considering how much buildup there was for his return. Vegito Blue, despite his overwhelming power, is unable to defeat Zamasu, and his defeat serves as a little more than a plot device to introduce Zeno, at least his power, the multiversal destroying being who ultimately solves the problem. This completely robs Goku and Vegeta of any real sense of accomplishment, and further highlights the arc's reliance on cheap fixes rather than resolving conflicts in a satisfying manner. The retcon problem in Goku Black's arc. The Goku Black arc is undeniably one of the most hyped storylines in Dragon Ball Super, but the heavy use of retcon distracts from its impact. From the inconsistent portrayal of characters to chaotic handling of timelines, the arc feels like a patchwork of ideas that were hastily stitched together to create thrilling spectacles. And while you can argue that yes, Dragon Ball is full of thrilling spectacles and the plot isn't really that fantastic, completely undermines the story that Dragon Ball has been telling since early Dragon Ball. And while Dragon Ball has never been immune to flawed writing, the retcons in this arc stretch the limits of what can be overlooked. The introduction of Goku Black could have been a fantastic exploration of what an evil Goku would look like, but instead it devolves into a series of convoluted decisions that diminish the stakes and undermine the integrity of the narrative. The change made to characters like Vegito and Zamasu, as well as nonsensical timeline alterations, show a lack of careful planning, and it feels like the creator prioritized cool moments and flashy battles over the story's consistent character development. This approach ultimately weakens the overall impact of the arc, leaving fans to wrestle with the many retcons and unanswered questions. The Goku Black arc stands as a testament to the dangers of excessive retconning. While the concept itself was exciting and full of potential, the execution faltered due to narrative shortcuts and inconsistencies that undermined the story's integrity. Ultimately, the arc's reliance on retcons makes it a frustrating experience for longtime Dragon Ball fans who have come to expect more coherent storytelling. The Goku Black arc is a prone example of how retcons, when used irresponsibly, can ruin what could have been one of the franchise's most compelling stories. If anything, it's a cautionary tale about the importance of staying true to the established lore and respecting the foundation of the beloved universe. Of course, there's problems with what some series does with the character. I think Goku is a big problem in any Dragon Ball series, especially recently, like in Daima and Super, but I won't divulge in that. I might divulge in that in the future for a upload. But even Goku Black's character is ruined at least a bit because of the retconning. He is a very cool character by design, but the purpose of his character is ruined by Dragon Ball Super.